I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place this first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army Strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, this is Jessie. How y'all doing out there tonight? You know I miss you when we're not talking. What, you don't think that's true? I promise you, it is. I promise. It is. Alright. I titled this show The Week in Review for a couple of reasons. One, I've got some new stuff, I promise, but I also want to discuss some of the other topics that really hit me as I went through everything I've done and covered this week. Oh, and by the way, there's the show prep. Means I got my cast off and I got use of my right hand back. Alright, moving right along. Oh, and Host Kitty's in the house. Yes, Host Kitty. What was that, Host Kitty? Yep, Host Kitty is definitely in the house. So, what can I say? It's been one of those weeks around here, folks. It's been a little hectic, and I thank y'all for just rolling with the punches with me. Because, guess what? It's been an interesting, it's been an interesting couple of days. I have been dealing with a whole bunch of things that I don't necessarily have time to explain them all to you. But all I can say is there's interesting things happening around the station. Yes, there are. Now, while I'm doing station announcements, before I get caught up, hey, Scott Harvath. Yeah, you. You got this. You got this. Yes, 2017 is your year. You are going to kick cancer to the curb. And I hope you're feeling okay after your chemo today. Yes, I do read your Twitter feed, Scott. Of course I do. What can I say? Alright. Scott is absolutely an amazing person. And for those of you who are new to the show or aren't sure about Scott Harvath, he is a retired NYPD sergeant and 9/11 first responder, and he is battling stage 4 esophageal cancer. But I know you, Scott. I know your heart. You are going to kick cancer in the 6. So I'd been forgetting to do that all week because I've been so caught up with trying to do my own show. I apologize, Scott. I'm usually real good about remembering. So I apologize. It's been a rough week around here, Scott, but you know you have more rough weeks than I do. And I'm going to give one other shout out tonight. Oh yeah, I'm just full of shout outs tonight. What can I say? I got to give this one to the guy that helped me find Scott Harvath. And that would be Brad Thor. Your books are amazing. Okay, flat out. You are one of the best storytellers I know. What more needs be said? Alright, moving right along. For those of you who are unaware of history, today is the 38th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. What Islamic Revolution? The one that took place in Iran where they ousted the Shah, took Americans hostage and held them for 444 days. Yeah, that's the one. So there have been more protesters than usual, more Death to America chants, and the Iranians have been all over the place, burning American flags, death to Israel. Oh yeah, they've just been quite the cheerful bunch today. Demonstrators in Tehran chanted the traditional slogans against the U.S. and Israel. The rallies come at a time when, of course, President Trump has already engaged in a war of words with Iran's leadership and put Tehran, quote-unquote, on notice over its recent ballistic missile tests. Hundreds of thousands of demonstrators marched towards Tehran's Azadi Square, where Rouhani addressed the crowd. He called the new U.S. administration a problem and said Iran will strongly answer any threat from its enemies. And couple of the quotes, now of course I don't have audio on this because, well, I don't speak Farsi, do you? So all of them should know that they must talk to the Iranian nation with respect and dignity. Our nation will answer to any threat. Iranians will resist before enemies until the end. Rouhani called Iran home of the lions, but he said the country does not seek hostility. We are not after tensions in the region and the world. We are united before bullying and any threat. Alright, I do have a quick audio clip on this because I just enjoyed these words so much I gotta play them again. Give me just a second to track it down. This is when National Security Advisor Michael Flynn officially put Iran on notice. Yes, officially at a White House press conference, February 1st, put Iran on notice. Alright, let's take a quick listen.
President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice.
I just love hearing those words. I really do. Those words may have to hang out on my soundboard for just a while. Because I'm sorry. Obama, I love doing that too, now that I got that cast off. Obama never put Iran on notice. In fact, his Iranian nuclear deal has more holes than good quality Swiss cheese. So, the rallies commemorate February 11th, 1979, when followers of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini ousted the U.S.-backed Shah Reza Pahlavi. The United States helped orchestrate the 1953 coup that overthrew Iran's popular Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, which brought Pahlavi to power and set the stage for decades of mistrust between the countries. Some posters distributed in English read, "Thanks to American people for supporting Muslims." Another one with a picture of Trump said, "Mr. Trump, thanks for revealing the face of the U.S., a reference to remarks Tuesday by Iran's supreme leader, in which he said the newcomer Trump had shown the real face of the United States. Some people threw balls and darts targeting pictures of Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Some demonstrators burned American flags. And they also were carrying around and burning effigies of the leaders. Oh, yes. What can I say but that other than Iran's been in prime form today? Got a couple more stories. They all sound a little bit similar, but some of them have some interesting twists. The Iranian leader also called, looking for the term, it also called President Trump, Prime Minister Theresa May, and Benjamin Netanyahu the devil triangle. So, and protesters carried pictures of Trump, Netanyahu, and May with the caption, "Death to the Devil Triangle." So that was the interesting thing I thought about this. Most Iranians on social media such as Twitter use the hashtag #LoveBeyondFlags to encourage an end to the burning of U.S. flags, a regular feature in these anniversary events. Oh yes. What can I say? What can I say? And I've got a lot of crazy work to do when I get off the air. You guys don't realize all the things I do behind the scenes. Alright, moving right along. Oh yeah, I've got more. Sorry, I'm shuffling papers. Aren't I always? Trying to work from the back of my stack forward because I kind of went through regions of the world when I was doing the printing. Alright, since we're discussing Iran, we might as well discuss Syria. Russia intervened to halt a clash between Syrian government forces and Turkey-backed Syrian rebels in northern Syria. Sources on both sides said on Friday this was the first confrontation between them as both sides fight Daesh in the area. Daesh is under attack from separate campaigns in northern Syria by Russian-backed government forces and Turkey-backed rebels. Oh, yes. And if you remember correctly, got your scorecard? I know we haven't done scorecards in a while, so let's real quick run over it. Alright. Bashar al-Assad, Syria, propped up by Iran and most notably Russia. Now, don't forget, Russia and China are friends, and who is China's little brother? North Korea. And I've already proven that Iran and North Korea share weapons technology. So there is your overall scorecard. And of course, Turkey views all the Kurds as enemies. And Turkey and Russia are kind of iffy on their relations right now because, well, let's see. We have a Russian ambassador being shot on live Turkish television. Actually executed on live television. And is assassinated. We have the shooting down of a Russian airliner by Turkey. And Russia's been a little bit iffy with Turkey for a while, so they've got reason to be. What can I say? What can I say? So, Russia and Turkey have backed opposing sides in the world, but recently started cooperating over Syria, brokering a truce between government forces and rebels working together to try to revive peace talks. Rebel officials said the clash took place in a village southwest of Al-Bab. Alright. For those of you who new to this rodeo, let's grab a quick audio clip about Al-Bab. Yeah, I got one.
Moving over to Al-Bab. Since January 1st, 2017, the coalition's conducted 35 strikes, delivering 101 weapons in or near Al-Bab to kill ISIL fighters, destroy equipment, artillery, fighting positions, tunnels, and command and control nodes. Coalition and Turkish military leaders continue coordinating operations in southwest Syria. The enemy in Al-Bab is in deep trouble, with Turkish military and partner forces converging on the city from the northwest, coalition forces pounding the enemy from the air, and regime forces approaching from the south.
Oh yeah. And let me tell you this, that's one very active fighting area. And there's of course always the danger when you get that many forces in one area that aren't necessarily working together but all working towards the same goal, that they may trip over the other. So the U.S. does have a deconfliction line with Russia. Now what that means exactly, no one's really explained. I'm guessing it's a phone line or radio frequency where they communicate in some semi-official, unofficial capacity. Now, speaking... Oh yeah, we're not done with this area. Remember I mentioned a couple days ago that there was an airstrike that killed Russian fighter jets were performing a combat mission to destroy Daesh positions in northern Syria when they mistakenly fired on Turkish troops. Oh yes. 3 Turkish soldiers were killed, 11 others wounded, and of course this was near Al-Bab. The Turkish military had provided Russian forces with coordinates of its troops' positions one day before the deadly airstrike, following an earlier incident in which a rocket was launched from Russian-controlled area towards a Turkish position. Turkey resent the coordinates to Russian command center at the Haimayan military base near Latika. So, what can I say? Turkey and Russia have clashed over other deadly incidents involving the military, and like I said, remember I said they're kind of frenemies? Yeah, their relationship is on the rocks. There's no other way to put this one. Alright, I'm just thumbing through my stack to make sure I got it all. My printer didn't print right tonight, so it's a little harder than usual. Alright, I do have two stories. I have to do these. No choice. Alright, French jihadist Qasim targeted a Mosul strike. Now we don't know if he's dead, but he was targeted. French jihadist Qasim, suspected of inspiring several attacks in France, was targeted in a coalition airstrike near the Iraqi city of Mosul. Death is not confirmed yet. Repeat, death is not confirmed. And a French official said that there was not, quote-unquote, absolute confirmation of death, but the probability was high. Qasim, who is in his 30s, is believed to have inspired an attack last year in which a senior French policeman and his partner were knifed to death, and another in which an elderly priest's throat was cut. So, Alright, so that's a cool thing. Now I've got a nice, uplifting Mosul story. Yeah, I found a good one about Mosul tonight. I don't often have good ones about Mosul, but I got one tonight. Separated Iraqi families are holding emotional reunions in liberated eastern Mosul. About 30,000 people returned to Mosul since Iraqi forces launched the offensive in October to take back the city. And this is according to the United Nations report. And that number has grown since the eastern part of the city was liberated. Sometimes overwhelming checkpoints into the city and the stringent security checks. After pleading with Iraqi soldiers to let him pass and proceed into his neighborhood, Ahmed Ati finally reached home. Ati said he was lucky to cross into the city. He hadn't seen his wife and 2 daughters for about 2.5 years. His youngest child was a week old when he and his son, Hamza, fled when Daesh took over. Men wait in line for permission to cross the Qasir checkpoint outside of Mosul. Fearing the militant group would recruit and convert them, 5-year-old Hamza into an extremist, the Alti family fled Mosul in the summer of 2014, as did 500,000 other people. But their escape did not go well. Ati said Daesh fighters took $5,000 and 2 mobile phones belonging to him, and then threw him and Hamza in prison for a day. Before their release, the militants took their fingerprints and said they faced death if they tried to escape the land of the caliphate again. He and his son returned home. A month later, they fled again, this time leaving his wife and daughters behind in Mosul. They were safer in the city, he said, adding it was essential to get Hamza out of the militants' reach. Ati paid a smuggler to take him and his son into neighboring Syria. From there, they entered Turkey and stayed there 1.5 years, desperately trying to get his wife and daughters to join them. But it was too dangerous for them to try and leave Mosul. In March, Ati joined an estimated 1 million refugees and migrants who crossed the Aegean Sea from Turkey to Greece last year. They reached Europe, but they did not make it past the Greek-Macedonian border. After many cold nights camping in the Balkans, they returned to war-torn Iraq in June, as the U.S.-assisted Iraqi army was retaking territory captured by Daesh. Mosul remained under Daesh's control, so Ati and his son stayed at an uncle's home in Kirkuk, while Iraqi security launched their campaign to retake Mosul. So, he was finally reunited with his wife and daughters, and I'm looking to see if the 5-year-old was with him. They don't mention it. They don't mention whether the 5-year-old was with him, but what can I say? He and his son, oh, yep, here it is. He and his son returned home a month later. Nope, that was earlier. And yes, it was an indescribable feeling I've never experienced before, Marwa Atis said about seeing her husband and son after more than 2 years of separation. So yes, the family is reunited in eastern Mosul. Now, eastern Mosul isn't all roses. There are still routine power outages, along with phone and internet service outages. Schools are mostly still shuttered. Daesh fighters have shaved their beards to blend in with the rest of Mosul's residents so they might evade and ambush the advancing Iraqi army. No one dares venture out at night. That's when Daesh can attack people. Daesh members are sending drones to bomb people. That's the danger in Mosul now. The Ati family's future in Iraq remains uncertain. They and 18 other family members moved into an uncle's house in another district of eastern Mosul to avoid extremists who might have known them in their old neighborhood. So, it's going to be an interesting thing to see, and I'm glad that at least one family has been reunited. Alright, moving right. Oh, I have blown past the commercial break. Oh dear, we gotta take care of that right now. I gotta pay them bills, so I will see you on the other side.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a four-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Alright, we are going to move right along to the Asia Pacific region. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What can I say? Some people are calling North Korea Trump's Kobayashi Maru. Now, for those of you who don't know what Kobayashi Maru is, it is a Star Trek reference. It is putting all Starfleet cadets in a no-win situation. Now, some people are saying it is, but I'm not sure. There are some options I think Trump has, and I'm going to give you a little bit of host opinion. All right. Now, we all know that Kim Jong-un has promised to test an ICBM. For those of you who don't remember what an ICBM is, and it's very unlikely that most of my followers don't know what it is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. Yeah, the really nasty ones. What can I say, folks? What can I say? So, the article that I'm reading, and I was thumbing through it during the break, gives a couple of scenarios that I don't agree with. Such as seeking a freeze on the nuclear program. Alright, forget it. North Korea is not going to accept a freeze. They've gone against UN sanctions, blah, blah, blah. Put more pressure on North Korea until it cries uncle or collapses. Such as a naval blockade. But then there's overland trade from Big Brother China. So that option, I guarantee you, probably wouldn't work. Provoke North Korea into firing its missiles and hope that U.S. missile defense provides protection. Personally, I think that our missile defenses in this country and those in South Korea, and other Asia-Pacific countries would be up to this. So what can I say? China is happy with, China fears a collapsed North Korea more than anything. Because China doesn't want a reunified Korea, which would mean a US-friendly Korea on its doorstep. China doesn't want that. Not in any way, shape, or form. And believe it or not, South Korea isn't all that excited about reunification. The families are, but the government is not. You want to know why? Just look at what happened to the German economy right after they reunified. It plunged right into the toilet. And South Korea is going, yeah, I don't know about that. Now, for those of you who live under a rock, don't forget that Secretary of Defense Mattis made South Korea his first stop. Yes, first stop. And here's what he had to say about deploying THAAD in South Korea.
Due to North Korea's threatening rhetoric and destabilizing behavior, we are taking defensive steps like deploying the highly effective THAAD anti-missile unit to the Republic of Korea to protect its people and our troops that stand beside our ally.
Now, for those of you who don't understand what that means, we have approximately 250,000, 25,000? I'm going to say 25,000 troops, mostly Army, stationed in South Korea. A number of them are along the DMZ. What's the DMZ? You listen to the show and you don't know what the demilitarized zone is? That is the 4 kilometer wide stretch called the border between North and South Korea. Remember, these countries are still technically at war. There was never a peace treaty signed, just a ceasefire. And I have actually been on the USO tour to the DMZ. It is a very interesting place to visit. So that means I've technically been on North Korean soil, but I did it safely inside the Military Armistice Commission, or MAC building, which is the conference building where they hold the six-party talks. Alright. North Korea may have ordered a sweeping massacre of about 1,000 people after the execution of Yang Song-tak, a defector activist in South Korea, mentioned this. Hwang Cho-hwan, president of North Korean Strategy Center, said in addition to the mass slaughter of a total of 20,000 people were purged under Kim Jong-un. In connection to the Yang Song-tak, 415 cadres in the Korean Workers' Party, more than 300 people in affiliated organizations, and 200 officers in the State Security Department were shot. The North Korea Strategy Center is a nonprofit organization that seeks state aid defectors, okay? Alright. Kang's assertions mark the first time an analyst has said the state executed 1,000 people. Now remember, Jang was relevant because he was Kim Jong-un's uncle. Kang says his information was drawn from the testimonies of 6 North Koreans who recently escaped the country, including the highest-ranking defector, Bae Young-ho. And the organization is planning to bring the Yang Song-tak case before the International Criminal Court in The Hague for crimes against humanities. They always throw that when you go to The Hague. I'm sorry. I swear that's always one of the standard charges. Alright. Upcoming things that we'll be keeping an eye on. Secretary Mattis is going to travel to Brussels, Belgium, where he will meet with counterparts from NATO nations and separately host a meeting of ministers from the Counter-Dash Coalition, and that will be in February. He will leave on February 14th. On February 17th, Mattis will attend the Munich Security Conference, where he will have a series of meetings with key international counterparts. The trip is to underscore the commitment of the United States to our NATO alliance and to defeating Daesh. Alright, for those of you who are new to this show, you wonder why I say Daesh, not ISIS or ISIL or Islamic State. Daesh is the Middle East acronym for ISIS, and they hate it. So your illustrious show host will always use Daesh. Can't always control the audio clips, but I will use Daesh personally as much as possible. Alright, I've got one more clip from the military readiness hearings that took place on Capitol Hill this week. Let's take a quick listen.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know how to say this any clearer. We are in the throes of, I think, the worst military crisis we've had in our history, short only to the 1800s when we had to fund our first 5 frigates, and we didn't have any income to do it. I don't care how we do this, but we've got to get serious as a Congress and as an administration to figure out how to do this. I just have a couple of questions. I've read your testimony. It speaks for itself. But, General Allen, I'd like for you to emphasize for the record some really telltale. We had a question on Hollow Force. I'd like to quantify that a little bit. You mentioned in here that your forces, you have about 31 BCTs. Is that right?
In the active force, 58 in the total force.
Yes, sir. So of that 58, is it of the 31, you have about 3 that could go to war tonight, that could fight tonight. Is that what you said?
That's correct. They're fully manned, fully equipped, and trained for immediate deployment.
And that 3 compares to the 58, is that correct?
That's across the 58. But they happen to be from the active force.
Agreed.
But however you do the math,
that's what I'm trying to look
good
at
enough.
How severe this really is relative to putting in perspective. It's amazing to me how Congress and past administrations have allowed this to happen. But
all right, that is where I'm going to repeat my call to action, and I very rarely ask you folks to do anything. But I'm going to ask you point blank, contact your congressmen and your senators and ask them not to pass another continuing resolution, but to pass a real budget and get the military the funding it needs so they can protect this country. I mean, you've heard some of the real interesting things. Now back to the Hollow Force statement. I'm going to play that, and then we're going to have to get on up out of here.
I'll begin with you, General Allen. Do we face the prospect of a hollow army?
Thank you, Chairman McCain. And my belief is if we continue with a continuing resolution, and if we do not eliminate sequestration this year, then we will be faced with the likelihood of beginning that dive toward a hollow force.
Senator, I believe that the sign of a hollow force is when no one wants to stay in the force. And I think the longer we go, to General Allen's point, with reduced funding and our inability to allow our young men and women to do what they joined to serve their country, they'll walk. And that will lead to a hollow force. So we're under threat here in the next few years if we don't get our fiscal house in order.
And Chairman, same for us. If we don't give them the new equipment, they won't stay around. And that, by definition, at least in my mind, is a hollow force.
Chairman Ward, I would agree with everything that's been said. As we look at the time period you talked about, the late 70s, at the depth of the hollow force, We're flying less sorties and less hours today than we were then.
And those are quotes from the Vice Chief of Staffs from all 4 branches of your military. All right, folks. On that note, remember, please, I'm going to say, Scott Harvath, this is again your year. And you are going to kick cancer in the 6. And again, all of you, please contact your congressmen, your senators. Ask them to get rid of sequestration and give our military the funding it truly deserves. These are the men and women who will fight and die for you and allow you to sleep under a blanket of freedom, under a blanket of peace, so that you can enjoy freedom in your day-to-day life. You don't have to go out and check for bombs. You don't have to worry about chaos. These are the men and women who are defending you. Please, let's see if we can help get them the funding they need. On that note, I'm out of here!